Do not snap your wrist on the tennis serve. Unless, of course, you want to have an injury in your wrist, in your elbow or your shoulder, then go ahead and continue to snap your wrist at high speeds and end up out of the game for many, many months. Now, of course, I'm kidding. I want to see you healthy and I want to see you thriving with that serve. So it's not a flex and extend of the wrist. It's a forearm supination into pronation. So what do I mean? If I want to snap my wrist, if I do this with my wrist prior to contact, as you see, my strings will be facing the sky. Now, if I'm holding a continental grip, it will look like this. I'm going from this position and I'm snapping the wrist. Now, even doing that just for a few serves, I really feel the stress that it places on my wrist joint. Now, when I was younger, one of the coaches who I worked with told me to snap my wrist, and I actually went out and practiced baskets and baskets of serves, snapping my wrist. I ended up with a really bad wrist, couldn't play tennis for a few months, and that was just because of one coach telling me, snap your wrist. This is why I'm so passionate about teaching players around the world that snapping your wrist is a great way to injure yourself and a terrible way for you to actually serve. So what we should be doing is focusing on this supination prior to contact. So I'm in this position here. If I'm holding the continental grip, the racket will be on edge prior to contact. The forearm is now supinated. As I go to the point of contact, I start to pronate into a neutral position, and after contact, I pronate fully. So what is supination and pronation? Now, if I take the racket out of my hand, I place my palm facing the sky, now my forearm is in a supinated position. Now I start to turn my palm towards my body, I'm pronating back into a neutral position. And from here, the palm is now facing the ground, I'm now pronated fully. And with the racket, it looks like this. Supination prior to contact, pronating, full pronation. Now this is the motion that we should be working on to master on the serve. If you're using a continental grip, over time, this is the motion that you should really master. So prior to contact, we're in that position here. The racket is on edge. I'm going up to the point of contact, I'm pronating, and then I pronate fully. Got my little dog here. Pause. She's obviously making sure that I teach you the right thing in this video. So from the front, it's going to look like this. On edge, racket's on edge. I'm leading with this side of the racket towards the ball. I open the strings, I open the palm, and then I pronate fully. Now, during that motion, I may have some degree of wrist flexion and extension, but it will be minimal. It's not like I'm consciously thinking about snapping the wrist. I'm simply thinking about pronating through that strike zone. So work on this. I'll give you a few drills now that you can work on to help you master that supination and pronation on your serve. Now, a really good way for you to feel the difference between that pronation and that snapping of the wrist is to just throw a ball to your partner or to your coach where you're having the palm of the hand facing the head in this position. So I'm front on to the net. I'm in this position here with the palm. So the palm is facing my head now. And all I'm going to do is focus on releasing and pronating the arm fully. So I'm going from this position to this position as I throw. Once again, palm is facing my head, palm is facing the right side of the court. So I'm going from this position to this position. I'm not focusing on turning, I'm not focusing on my legs. The only thing I'm doing is isolating this motion from here, supination, pronation. Supination, pronation. Now, once you start feeling comfortable doing that, you can then progress on to actually serving with holding the racket on the frame like this. So I'm still using what I would call the continental grip. Instead of being down here, I'm now sliding my hand up to the throat of the racket. This makes it much easier for me to then control that racket head and really feel what I'm doing. So I'm going from, once again, this position, the bottom of the racket is facing down the court. The side of the strings I'm going to hit the ball with is facing my head. And once I start going up to the point of contact, that's when I open the racket, and I should finish with the racket facing the right side of the court. So it's going to look like this. Here, to here. Supination, pronation. Supination, pronation. Once that starts to feel good, you can then slide the hand down to the top of the grip. So I'm holding the grip in this position here and doing the same motion. So once again, supination, pronation. Supination, pronation. I don't have to hit the ball hard. All I want to do is isolate that feeling of pronating through that point of contact. And finally, the last progression would then be holding the racket at the bottom of the grip. Once again, palm is facing my head. I'm in this position here, pronating, supination, pronation. And if you do those drills every session for a couple of weeks, after a few weeks, you should start to feel much more comfortable with this supination and pronation. Remember, the last thing we want to do is snap the wrist. Avoid that at all costs. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, click the like button, otherwise Paws will be upset. Leave a comment down below if you want to see any lessons in the near future. Signing off, Coach Simon from T2T. All the best and see you soon, guys. Take care.